Rabbi Schochet, we are told that the Torah and Judaism ought to remain intact and unchanged. However, new holidays have been added, like Hanukkah and Purim, and things have been taken away, like polygamy, which we discussed previously. Explain, please.
As per the Torah portion, when we are told how, or there is a verse in the portion that implies how rabbis themselves have within a certain framework license to add safeguard to the Torah, and within that context, therefore, we have a responsibility to adhere to that which they implement without turning astray from it. Now, what the rabbis themselves will implement is not going to be at whim of their own volition. Invariably, besides or beyond their profound depth and halachic knowledge, etc., will also be the added spiritual dynamic, like the men of the Great Assembly who introduced a structured prayer service, etc., and that therefore many things that the rabbis implemented, they would have had some kind of reference within the Torah itself alluding to it. And sometimes they will therefore have also known through that greater spiritual insight when it came to particular and unique Jewish celebrations, such as Hanukkah and Purim, that they be implemented for all future generations. Purim itself, the Megillah tells us, Mordechai and Esther set up themselves and implemented that it be as a day of celebration going forward. And of course, they being lofty people, Mordechai himself being of the men of the Great Assembly, etc., it's not just of their own volition, but it comes from a far deeper and spiritual place.
Thank you very much. Rabbi No?
I'd just like to add that it's actually amazing that with this license that Rabbi Schochet mentioned that the Torah gives to the rabbis, in our whole history, the rabbis only added officially 7 mitzvot. Everything else is just safeguards against or for biblical law. But introducing new laws, they only introduced 7, which demonstrates how seriously and how they understood the significance of it.
Thank you.
Just regarding polygamy, that was part of that question. I just wanted to take the opportunity to explain that that's actually not a change, and it's a rabbinic enactment to bolster and strengthen the biblical mandate, because a man is not obligated to marry more than one wife, as Rabbi Nu already explained. In fact, it was discouraged. But a man is obligated to give his wife certain basic and most important benefits, so to speak. He is responsible to give her everything she needs for shelter and clothing. He's responsible for her food and medicinal needs, and he's responsible to give her conjugal pleasure. When it became apparent that women were no longer able to feel taken care of, as per the biblical mandate, that was the largest reason for the rabbinic enactment that a man can no longer marry more than one wife. So in fact, that's bolstering the biblical mandate. It's not a deviation.
Thank you, Rabbi Schochet.
I just found a way around the 1-minute rule. I can add to this now. Just to think of this in context, when you're standing at a subway station, you have a yellow line, and you're told not to cross over that yellow line lest you are at risk of being, God forbid, hit by the train. People often have issues with all these rabbinic restrictions, all these extra safeguarding measures and what have you. But think about it in that context, and you'll understand that they only have your and my best interests at heart in looking to help prevent getting hit by the train and looking to help encourage us to remain steadfast in our observance levels.
I wanted to connect this with going back to the discussion about divorce earlier, and just to explain that the secondary part of prohibiting polygamy by the rabbis was because it began to become apparent that men could take advantage of a situation where they could terminate a relationship with one woman and enter into a relationship with another woman with absolutely no consequences. So by prohibiting polygamy, this was actually protecting a woman so that her husband would have to end the marriage, would have to give her ketubah, which is really the ancient form of alimony, take care of her before entering into another marriage.
Thank you.